to Rikers Island and been to prison in New York, and you already know that's a crazy system up there. So we're going to get into all the crazy shit today. If you're new and you're tuning in, man, hit that subscribe button and turn your post notifications on so every time I drop an episode, you can hear it first. So, man, why don't you go ahead and just introduce yourself to the people watching at home? What's your name and where you're from?
Peace, y'all. How you doing? Shout out to everybody. I go by the name of Nate Almighty from the Bronx, New York, currently living in the South. Shout out to everybody that's watching. Shout out to all the subscribers of Dot.
Yeah, man, facts. My grandma was actually born in the Bronx. She grew up in New York and shit. So I know all about the Bronx. I've been up there in Brooklyn Bay Ridge and everything, but this this ain't about me though, man. So what was your upbringing like when you grew up in New York, man?
It's pretty standard. I mean, as far as, you know, the average household would be, and for a young, you know what I'm saying, black male with a single mother. But I would say mine was a little different. I didn't have it as bad as a lot of other kids. I mean, some men my age, you know, maybe their father wasn't around like that when they were children, or maybe they never was around, maybe they never loved them. You know, I happen to come from a family where my father did love me, but he died when I was 3 years old. You know what I'm saying? He had cancer. So,
hey, man, sorry to hear that, bro.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate it. So I was still close with my father's side of the family and things like that. And my mother worked a job. She worked 35 years in car medicine. You know what I'm saying? She had me in Catholic school until I started getting older and getting into trouble and getting kicked out. But when I come home, all my friends are who they are, you know, and I never really had a positive male role model. So when I started going through things and becoming a man on my own, I just ended up going outside, you know what I'm saying, to look for something. I'm sure you can agree that when you're a male and you're young, it's a certain type of masculine energy that you might be looking for. And you could end up being influenced by the wrong people if you allow yourself to be.
I went through the same thing. I lost my dad, man, when I was 7 in a car accident. And I know exactly what you mean. You look to like the OGs, man, you know what I mean, to put you up on game. You see them doing their thing and you kind of fall in that trap of like, man, I'm trying to get it like they getting it. You know what I mean? So when you were in school, man, and you said you got kicked out of school?
Yes.
Other than not having the male figure in your life, like, did you just have an attraction to that like lifestyle? Is that what made you like go down that path?
There is a kind of adrenaline, you know. I started going outside like consistently because, you know, my mother tried to keep me in the house. She'd buy me all the latest games and stuff like that, but still she's a woman, you know, and at the same time, you know, my mother had a drinking problem at that time. Like her man had a drinking problem. So I used to be in the house beefing with him. Like he actually was like my first knockout that I ever caught when I was 15 years old. You know what I'm saying? Knocked his drunk ass out. You know what I'm saying? But I used to just be outside and go outside. And when you with a bunch of other young men who don't have the right influences, y'all be bored and then somebody will say something like, let's catch a jokes. Or let's catch a body. But at that time, it wasn't let's kill someone. It was let's knock somebody out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like we got like the same story, bro. My mom was an alcoholic. She ain't in my life now and anything, but it's just crazy. Everybody I interview, it seems like it's the same upbringing. Like no dad, the mom was on drugs or whatever. So like, when did you first catch your first charge?
All right, so I caught my first charge when I was 15 years old. This was a robbery charge. I went to Spofford, which is a legendary juvenile facility. People like Mike Tyson have been there before. You know what I'm saying? It's closed down now. They might have turned it into like a hotel or something now. But I went there and did another place called Horizon. I did about 6 months there, and then I came home. And then I was on 5 years probation for about a year, and then I ended up getting arrested again and going to Rikers Island when I was 17 years old, a year later.
Damn, dude. So Rikers Island's a notorious jail in New York, man. So tell the people, like, how did you feel pulling up to Rikers Island? Because I'm sure you heard crazy shit.
There's a documentary, right? for anyone who's ever interested in learning about Rikers Island, called Scarface for Life or something like that. And I ended up seeing this while I was inside Rikers Island, but I also remember seeing it before I ever went to jail. It shows you the epitome of the violence that's going on in there. You know, dudes getting cut for no reason, and extortion, people taking people jewelry and Jordans and stuff like that. My time there was a little bit after that. Like at the height of all the violence, when it was the most violent, when, you know what I'm saying, like the blood thing and the Crip thing really started getting big in the city. All of that is like the early 90s. Early 90s, you know what I'm saying, like 91. I got there 2008. So it's like an after effect of that, but a lot of laws have been passed. The police have already adjusted to the influx of violence, so they start passing new rules and stuff before I even got there. Like, you're not allowed to have jewelry like that. You can wear your own sneakers, but if it's a specific color, or if they Jordan specifically, they'll act you like, you sure you want to wear these? Or like, for instance, when I first got there, like at my time, if you look inside the shelves, you see that there's no space where it's supposed to be like a whole lot of metal. You really seeing just pipes. Most of the metal is gone, and you realize that that's from years and years of different people coming in the cells, ripping metal off the gate, you know what I'm saying, making shanks and stuff like that. And you realize, and you think like, how many people possibly could have been cut or stabbed from this one radiator right here? You know what I'm saying? But to answer your question, I was pretty scared. I was scared. But I also knew that I had to have heart.
Yeah.
Because I came from a respectable neighborhood, and there was no way I was gonna let anybody else. Because I live in a neighborhood where you're gonna see somebody who you know.
Right.
So
right.
I wasn't gonna be the person who they're like, hey, look, Juju, because that's my name, like in town, you know what I'm saying? But I had different names in jail. Like, they used to call me like Nas because of my voice and stuff like that. But I wasn't gonna let nobody.
Oh shit, you do kind of sound like Nas now that you said that.
Yeah. I wasn't gonna
let
let
just one mic.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, I wasn't gonna let nobody be like, yo, I see Nas, man. Nas, I mean, like, I see Juju. Julius not doing too good, man. They not doing too good, man. He let it slap him up and all that. I know I had to have heart. Luckily for me, as soon as I got in there, there's this thing called intake. So you in intake for like a week. And it's basically you and a bunch of other new dudes or dudes who've been there before, but they coming back. And it's basically where you at, but they run your medical results and all that other stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they'll tell you, like, if you got like an STD or whatever. Like, I found out while I was in Rikers Island during intake, my second day, that I had caught chlamydia, and I was running wild at the time before I got locked up. Like, I was running wild, like all the
You were knocking all them hoes out.
I was going crazy.
Hey.
I was going crazy, you know what I'm saying? So that's one true story, you know what I'm saying? Like, but I already started running into dudes from my block where I live at, which is Cortland, Park Ave, Morris Ave, in the Bronx. Like, these are real legendary like places. Like, if you're from the Bronx, like, you know, like, this is like Jackson Projects, Melrose Projects, you know what I'm saying? Like Mott Haven and all these other places, you know, like. But I ran into dudes that I already knew that was older than me, and they basically told me what it was. They said, hey, listen, in certain places where you sit, if you soft, they sit in these places. The people that's running things, they sit here. The people that's like on the team with them is over there. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's really, you can compare it to medieval times.
I've actually watched some documentaries on Rikers Island. And so it seemed like, from what I've gathered, is that the Bloods and the Latin Kings kind of run the whole facility. Is that true?
When I was there, yes, very much so. I don't know what's going on now, and I don't care to add too much because, you know, it's all gang politics. I don't care for that. Some of them say the Dominicans are running it now. The Bloods are always going to have high numbers. I hope, you know, above all else, you know, there could be something that people unite over that's deeper than, you know what I'm saying, race, or, you know what I'm saying, colors. You know, there's more important things in this world. But I'm not about to go on a tangent. I'm gonna shut up. I'm shutting up.
So then you were not affiliated during any of your time in prison or Rikers?
No, I was not. I was not.
Yeah, I never got affiliated either, man. Big props to you, because I don't know how it is in New York, but in Florida, when you're rocking as a neutron, if you ain't got heart and you're not going to get in the grid, like you're going to pay rent and do all that shit. So,
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm sure it's like that up there too. So when you were in Rikers Island that time, man, like what was the craziest thing you saw go on, if you had to pick one, as far as like violence, or it could be corruption with the officers?
Soft dudes get really humiliated badly. Like it's like the sophisticated way to say it is like it's their version of like hazing. Like it's bad. It's bad. It's humiliating. Like I'll run you through a couple. Like there was Friday night slap fights where you would have like two soft dudes. We would call them daring dummies.
Crash dummies.
Yeah, just our own little twist on it. And they'd be like, hey, you go in the corner, slap box. Whoever win, if you want to, whoever win, you give them like some commissary or something, or maybe allow them some extra phone time or something to call a loved one or something. And these people used to take bets, and dudes used to be slap boxing each other and they're fighting for real, and people have to cover for them and stuff like that. Or if let's say you don't have a support system, you don't have any money, but you a daring dummy. So now they'll get mad at you because you don't have no money in your account. And they'll tell you, listen, you better get some money in your account or we gonna fuck you up. Like,
you better call home.
It's really like you gotta have some type of heart or you're really just gonna eat you alive. Like for another instance, there's this thing that a lot of guys was having other guys do. I never participated in this because it was slightly homoerotic to me, but I've seen other dudes do it while they're impressing other dudes, and it's called the Beyonce booty dance. Where you would have a guy like put his arms on the wall and like do the Beyonce that thing, and you'll be like punching them in the ribs, while you're doing that, or slapping them in the face, or like having dudes stand in the toilet at court, and court toilets are real disgusting. One time I instigated a situation with a guy that was claiming to be blood and he wasn't, and I was there with my friend who was blood and he happened to be sleeping, and I asked the dude, I'm like, oh yeah, you blood? My boy over here is blood. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm like, where you from? What you repping? Just to see if he was repping the same thing as my friend. And I'm like, I never even heard of that. He might not even be real. This would be interesting, right? So I woke up my friend, and my friend was like, listen, that's fake. Now I'm going to violate you now because that's just the code. They realize somebody's fake. They're going to violate them. Bloods take their thing very, very serious. I just want to say that. So any youth watching this, be careful what you're getting yourself into, all right? There's always another option. You don't have to be in the game. But then I remember I instigated the whole situation, and he told them to stand in the toilet. It was already like breadcrumbs inside the toilet, and somebody had peed in it, and like I told him to take his socks off, and I told him to put a sock in his mouth, and he did it. It was disrespectful. It was corny now, looking back on it. I actually feel bad about that. I was doing a lot of things just to maintain a certain presence, so nobody try to like mess with me. Right. Because I'm not blood, I'm not Crip, I'm not Latin King. I come from a hood that's respected, and that helped me in certain areas. But if you still wasn't ready to fight at a moment's notice or be violent, people will still go against you, and people will still send someone else to do something to you. So I participated in certain things. I got in trouble. I went to the box like 3 times. My 3rd time in the box, I ended up reading a book called The Autobiography of Malcolm X. And also another book called Behold the Pale Horse, and it started like opening up my mind. So I began reading a lot more for like the rest of my time in Rikers Island. And I stopped like trying to extort people, and you know what I'm saying? But that's just me saying some positive stuff. So y'all know that I'm not just glorifying all the negative stuff. But I do got another story. I was right under the fall where, unfortunately, a group of Bloods murdered a Crip.
Murdered him in Rikers? He murdered him?
Yes. And it was an officer that allowed this to happen, because the officer is the person who buzzed the victim's cell open. And it basically just was the culture in this particular house. This particular house was called One Main House of Pain, right? So this was a high classification house. All the biggest, baddest people with the highest classifications, after they came out the box, they would go to this house. Now, this house was ran by the Bloods, but ran by police at the same time, which I think is probably more common than people talk about. How about how the people at the highest of the food chain in jail, a lot of them be working for the police and still taking orders from police. So who's really the boss if we all oppressing each other? You know what I'm saying? And they buzzed the cell door open early in the morning, and like 3 to 5 Blood dudes ran in the house. They put him in like full Nelson, and like they punched him in his face and his chest and his stomach. But that was the culture inside that house. Like that house was known for, that's how they get you and they make you submit. They're gonna put you in full Nelson, lock your body up so you can't get out, and then people just gonna beat on you. A lot of dudes used to say that would happen to them, and they wake up pissing blood and stuff like that. This particular dude, he was a threat. They went in the cell, they beat him up in that way, and he didn't go to the infirmary. He didn't tell. He just kept quiet. And while he was sleeping that night, his lungs collapsed and he died.
Damn, bro. Were you in the dorm with this dude when that happened?
I was right under, but it's easy to get messages across because it's like in Rikers Island, it's like it'd be like a smaller building within the building. So it would be like one main, which was the main floor in the middle. Then it would be one upper, which is like a short flight of stairs on top, and then one lower, which would be a short flight of stairs under the middle one. And it was easy to send messages to each other or talk to somebody out your window because they right above you or right to the side of you. It's easy to run into people and get messages off. And everybody used to always be talking about each other. So as soon as it happened, everybody knew what happened. I used to wake up in the morning and hear people's cells being buzzed open upstairs in One Main House of Pain. And people used to be screaming, CO, stop. Help me, help, you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of this, like it's real traumatizing shit, like it actually don't even leave you. Like in a way, Rikers Island stays with you forever. So
do you think back like who you are today, when you look back on all that time, do you like that you did at Rikers and saw all the shit that you saw? Do you feel like you have any like PTSD from that shit, or are you good at like blocking that shit out?
I would say I slightly do have PTSD. Only as far as, okay, so I don't ever allow myself to be in a corner at all, like around a bunch of people. Because I know from being on Rikers Island that if you get backed into a corner and you're not prepared, something bad's gonna happen to you. You know what I'm saying? I don't like being in crowds of people, especially crowds of people full of people that's from a certain type of background. I have this mentality where I live a positive life, like I'm a YouTuber now, like I'm a father, but I do still have this mindset where I'm kind of ready to go back, but not ready to go back on like some ignorant shit. But like at a moment's notice, for my respect, I will still really hurt somebody. Yeah.
You're saying like if someone tries you, like you're gonna handle business.
Like I lead with love, but it's a certain level of violence that I'm desensitized to. You know, and
feel that.
and I know what I'm capable of.
I feel
You know
that,
what I'm
bro.
saying? So I really lead with love in everything I do. Like it's no hate in me. You know, it's just like that. Like Rikers Island, like I cried in Rikers Island. You know, like I remember there's this game called the Patriage, right? Right. Some are saying that they taking the place of the Latin Kings, right? None of my business. I wish the best for everybody involved with both sets, but it was like a 6-month period where I had beef with just like all of them. Like not serious enough to where they was trying to stab me, but serious enough to it was a fight whenever I ran into them because one of my first fights when I first got to Rikers Island was one of like the head dudes, and I didn't know because I'm neutral. I don't know about the gang politics, you know. So I stormed off on them, you know, in front of everybody, like kind of embarrassed them, but not really, because I ended up like slamming him kind of, but he ended up like choking me and I almost passed out. But the CO separated us. Like I really like, and I ended up having beef with them. It's like I ended up bouncing around a little bit, and a couple dudes from his gang, they would be like, "Hey, you're such and such, right? What's up with you and my mans? You popped on my mans, right?" And there'd be like issues. Like then I ended up in one place, and there was like 5 of them, and they all smoked me. Like I stalled off on one. What are you really gonna do? It's 5 of them. I really went on a suicide mission, you know, and not to be racial, but there were black people there that time, and they didn't do anything. I'm just gonna say it. So it made me view a lot of things differently, you know. Like I could see past the gang stuff. I could see past the bravado, and I could really judge a man. I can really judge a man by what his real morals are, you know. So I always say, I don't respect gangs. I don't validate gangs. However, I know that there are men in gangs that have great leadership skills, charisma. Men in every single gang who mean well. Men in every single gang who want to clean up what their peers have done, you know, what their forefathers have done. Those are the men who I salute and I respect and that I want to work with. But I've seen enough betrayal of people who say they each other's brothers, say they in gangs with each other, whether it's Blood, Crib, Latin King, or whatever little street crew you have from wherever you from. And when shit hit the fan, dudes is telling on each other over a couple $100. Dudes are telling on each other over girls. Like raggedy little chicks who just gonna be raggedy and gain weight and be trash anyway and be nothing.
Oh, ratchet assholes.
Like people who had options to not do certain things and you wouldn't have been judged for it, but you wanted to jump out the window and do something, and then you get hit with them numbers. So at the end of the day, we got to find something that's deeper than that, that's going to pull us all together. So we looking beyond color and race. I feel like real don't have a color. You know what I'm saying? Real don't have an age. You know, it's a difference between whatever you saying that your ego is saying and what a real man is supposed to be, which is what we're lacking. You know what I'm saying? It's a real shit show out here. Like you got people like.
Yeah, it is crazy, man. Well, it sounds like, man, you got a good head on your shoulders. So when you were in Rikers Island, how long were you in there before you actually pled out and then got shipped upstate?
I got locked up. I remember like it was yesterday. Right outside of school, the detectives came, tapped me and my boys on the shoulder. This was March 2008. I stayed in Rikers Island from March 2008 until August 2009. And then I copped out to a 1 and 3 for a robbery charge, nonviolent. And I came home March 2010. I had to do violation for 60 days, but basically after that, I never went back. Besides, you know, like I remember one time, like in New York, like I like hopped the train and had to do a night in the bookings, or maybe me and my baby mama got into it like 2-3 times and we spent the night in jail. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, I've been chilling, you know?
So all petty shit, basically.
Yeah.
So when you left Rikers and you went upstate, where did you end up going when you got shipped up there?
All right, so I went to a medium. So a medium is like places like Mohawk, Washington, Green. I was in Green. First I went from downstate, then I went from downstate to Green. From Green, I went to Ulster, and then they put me in transition, and then they had me in Queensboro Correctional Facility in Long Island City. And then I came home from there. It's not a maximum where like you gotta be in your cell all day, like a Sing Sing or Attica, you know, or a Kagsaki. Those is where those guys that are real different, you know?
Yeah, they're on a different level.
Left, so I'm not you know what I'm saying, witness those type of things, you know?
Yeah.
You know, I'm blessed. It easily could have went that way.
So looking back now, man, on your time in Rikers and all the bullshit that you went through, what's one thing that you took away from all that?
One of the positive things that I say, maybe the 1 or 2 positive things I say about my experience in Rikers Island was that I got exposed to certain information that was good for my spirit that I may not have gotten exposed to had I still been out on the streets. Like I said, the books and all of that. And I ran into certain officers who were spiritually based, and they said certain things to me, and they bought me certain books or told me certain things. I also learned, like as a man, what self-respect is. What self-respect is and what dignity is, you know, like I watch dudes come to Rikers Island and they tough the whole time from day one. But maybe they bitch out. Some of them bitch out and do some wild shit towards the end, and then they got smut on their name. I've also seen dudes come in and be like the softest of the soul, getting slapped up, you know, getting extorted, to deciding that they're not gonna take it no more. And they start having self-respect for themselves. Yeah, some of them start finding out they could fight better than some of these guys who have bigger names. And they start exploiting that. You know, so I seen some dudes learn how to fight, you know. I got by of just aggression and doing crazy shit before I went to Rikers Island, you know, like I learned how to fight better in Rikers Island, you know, like you learn how to like wash your ass because you literally could get beat up for stinking up the area where people trying to sit down at.
Yeah. So in Rikers, man, like, so say I go into Rikers Island, right? A white boy, a non-affiliated, like how does it go down? Because I mean, in Florida, if you're a white boy and you ain't rocking with a gang, like you definitely got to prove yourself. You know what I mean? So is there, like, we call it in Florida a TOH, test of heart. I'm sure you've heard that expression. Would that go on in Rikers? Like if I walked in, are people going to step to me and see where I'm at?